Hi, it's Mike and I've got another replica airguns video for you. And I know many of you have been waiting for the Dan Wesson review. So we're going to take a look at the 6-inch silver and the 8-inch black Dan Wesson revolvers from ASG. I'm going to be doing a little bit of tag teaming here, going back and forth between the black and the silver. I'm probably going to spend most of my time showing you the silver because it will video a little bit better. So that doesn't mean I necessarily prefer the silver to the black, but for the sake of this video we'll be using the silver one primarily. So let's take a look inside the box again. And by the way, if you haven't checked out my preview video of the Dan Wessons, the Colt Special Combat, and the ASG CZ75 PO7 Duty, make sure to check out that video. And I also have standalone videos for the Colt Special Combat by Umarex and the ASG CZ75 PO7 Duty, so check out those videos also. Now in the box you get your manuals, all sorts of goodies in there, and the 8-inch has a smaller manual, but it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, and this is what you get inside the box. Just to recap here, you get 6 shells, you get your speed loader, a little hard to get out, get your speed loader, and it looks like this when you have the shells loaded into it. You get this rail for the top of the actual revolver barrel, and I'll explain to you how that goes on in a bit. And this is a tool that you can use if you want to actually, I've using it today to push some of the BBs out, because when you get to the end of your CO2 you may not have enough power to get a BB out, and if you don't, you can use this tool just to pop the BB out the end. It's also used when you're mounting the rail for the top. Alright, so let's take this Dan Wesson out of the box. Now, of course, the Dan Wesson Black comes in pretty much the same box. I'll just quickly show you. It's pretty much the same setup. Alright, so we have the Dan Wessons side by side. We have the black and we have the silver. Now, quickly, I'll just kind of explain to you that the black is, I wouldn't call it metallic because it's not really metallic, but it has a sort of almost a two-tone look to it, like it's a speckled kind of finish, a black speckled finish. It's quite nice. I kind of think I would have preferred it if there was some way to give it a real blued finish, or at least look like a blued finish. I know it's kind of hard to do with air guns unless you actually blue them, but that would have been nice. The Dan Wesson Silver, the 6-inch, what I do like about it is that it looks like a polished metal. So not really chrome, but it looks like polished stainless steel. And it really closely looks like polished stainless steel. Alright, so let's cover some of the features of these guns. Now they're almost an all-metal design with a few exceptions, like the handles, and also the CO2 tab and piercing screw are not metal on this particular gun. Now the 6-inch again comes in the polished stainless color. The 8-inch comes in black. They both use 12-gram CO2 cartridges. They use 4.5mm steel BBs, and they both have 6-round cylinders. Now the 6-inch silver weighs 2.25 pounds and the 8-inch black weighs 2.3 pounds. They're both double and single action. And they have a clean feet per second of 426 FPS. Now I will tell you what I was able to get out of both of these units, and unsurprisingly the barrel length does seem to make a difference. Now if you haven't noticed, these are replicas of the Dan Wesson revolvers, and the actual chamber size is in the 38 or the 357 caliber size. And from what I understand, an actual 357 or 38 caliber round will fit in the chamber. These guns are made by ASG, Action Sport Games, and they're made in Taiwan. And they're quite a bit easier to get overseas or in the UK, in Europe, but they're really hard to get here in North America. So let's take a walk around of the gun. We're going to take the black one away for now. So on the left side we have the safety. So when you pull this back, you have safety. When you push it forward, you can release the cylinder. And of course this is to eject your shells, but you don't really need to use this. I think it's mainly for looks. You can eject them fairly easily without doing that. You'll also notice that we have the Dan Wesson trademarks. You have the Dan Wesson on your barrel, and of course on your handle. Just want to move it around a little bit for you to get a little better look. Such a nice gun. Look at that. Now you have sort of a rubberized plastic grip. It's not really rubber, it's not really necessarily a hard plastic. It's a little bit hard to pull it up back to get at the CO2, but I'd rather it be a little more difficult than it always flopping open on you. So you just pull it back and you can get at your CO2, and you'll notice here we have our CO2 screw with the CO2 tab here on it, and this is actually made out of plastic, at least the tab is. The screw itself may be metal, but the tab part is plastic. Okay, let's take a look at the other side. Nice looking gun. So there's not as much going on this side. You'll notice that we actually have a few engravings here. The ASG logo, and then you have the F, that's for the German market, for selling in Germany, so that people know it's not a real actual firearm. And then you also have the .177 caliber, 4.5mm BB, just to let you know what the actual round is on this gun. You'll also see here that we have a screw, and this is for adjusting the windage from left to right. So if you're shooting a little to the left or right, you can adjust with the screw, because these are adjustable sights. Now on the top, of course, we have our sights, and on the silver one you actually have a little red dot. On the black Dan Wesson you have a white dot. Okay, and of course we have our adjustable sights, and you have the elevation adjustment on both of these here, so you can adjust your elevation. And the sights are pretty nice. They sighted in fairly easily. I'll show you my actual target and the results I got, but it wasn't too bad. And of course we have our single action and our double action trigger. And when I did most of my shooting, I was using the single action. It just feels good on a revolver to use the single action method. Use your thumb to cock and release with the single action. It just feels right on this gun. Now on the bottom, not too much really to talk about here, but you obviously have access to your CO2 tabs again. Now quickly, I just want to show you the front. I'm going to spin it around, you might see it a little bit easier. You can see here on the front, it does have the wider opening that looks more like the .38 caliber size or .357 caliber size. On the inside, it's recessed a little bit, but that's the actual opening for the BB. So it goes in about approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch is where the actual barrel starts. Okay, I want to show you the targets, and again, as usual, I shot this gun at 20 feet out in a standing position without any type of rest for the gun, and I shot approximately a couple seconds apart. And with this particular test, with my chronograph test and my target test, I shot 6 rounds for each gun. In this particular target test, I did a 6-round grouping, and you can see here I got about a 1.5 inch group, a little bit to the left. I'm not really worried about that because this gun does have adjustable sights. Now I shot again 6 rounds through my chronograph. I usually do 5, but I did 6 instead, and this gun averaged 395 feet per second, and that's the 6-inch version. So with the 6-inch silver I got 300, almost 400 feet per second. Now I wasn't really sure what I was going to get with the 8-inch, if I was actually going to get higher velocities because of the longer barrel. And in fact I did. Now let's talk quickly about the grouping. Again, 6 rounds shot at the target from 20 feet out, freestanding position with no rests, 2 seconds apart. Pretty much the same. If this BB had gone a little higher, I would have got another 1.5 inch group. It was a little tighter, wasn't as circular, and there was just a little stray over here. So again, it shot a little to the left. I could pull that in by sighting the targets in, no problem. Now this gun averaged almost 450 feet per second with 6-round average shot through my chronograph, and so the actual reading average was 447 feet per second. So this one will shoot about 50 feet per second faster. I just really wanted to quickly show you loading up the BBs. It's really very simple in this gun. You just essentially put the BB in the top and give it a push, and you can actually feel it kind of pop in, and you'll see it goes flush when it's in there all the way. Now when the CO2 gets low, some of these are a little tighter than the other ones, and you may notice that, and you know your gun's getting low when one isn't, say, coming out. You'll hear a different sound when you shoot the gun, and that BB just sort of stays in there. So that's an indicator when you're getting pretty much to the maximum shots out of this gun. And I was able to rechamber this gun 16 times and get close to about 100 shots out of this gun. 100 usable shots, so that's not too bad at all. Now again, when you're putting this in, what's kind of neat about this gun is when you throw your shells in there, you know, it looks so real. It's really neat. See here, your shells just kind of pop out the front there. You can see them inside. And when you're unloading it, just like you would a normal gun, you just, you know, tip it over. You really get the feeling that you're using a real gun here. And again, when you put the speed loader in, they just pop in, close it up, do your shooting. When you're done, there you go. I mean, if that doesn't feel like an actual real revolver, I don't know what does. So let's talk about some of the things that I liked about this gun. I like that it feels as close to a real revolver as you can get. The way you load this gun, the way that you remove the shells, the way that it fires, it's just like firing a revolver. It just isn't as expensive to shoot, safer to shoot, can shoot it in more locations, and it's obviously a lot quieter. I like the fact that this gun is an almost all metal gun. It has a nice weight to it, maybe not quite as heavy as the real steel, but still a nice solid gun with good weight. There's lots of detail in this gun. I mean, everything about it. It's hard to tell that this is not a real gun. You just can't imagine when you're holding this and using it that it's a BB gun. Now both these guns had really good power and accuracy. I like the fact that it has an adjustable sight. And while we're talking about that, I quickly wanted to show you how to put the accessory rail on because it's not very clearly indicated in the manual. But essentially, I believe, and I haven't done it yet, but you would remove the rear slide by unscrewing the screw all the way, and then you would slide the rail on to the desired location, and then you have this tool and you could tighten it down. So there's some Allen keys there, and you would tighten the rail down using the actual Allen key. Some stuff I didn't like as much about this gun. Again, not the gun's fault, but a lot of these products that we're bringing in now to the Replica Airgun store you just can't get easily in North America. So it does cost a little more to purchase this gun here because it's got to be brought in, and you know, there's obviously more people getting their hands on it along the way, and that just increases the cost a little bit. So unfortunately that's the way it is, but at least we have it now here in North America, and for the most part you can get it at the Replica Airgun store. We are out of the silver ones at the moment, but we're bringing some more in, and so hopefully when you watch this video we have stock. We do have the 8-inch ones in stock right now, so we'll try and keep stock topped up as much as we can. I didn't like the plastic tab on the CO2 screw. It would be nice if that was metal. Just plastic makes me a little bit nervous when you're applying pressure to it. And if it would have been possible, it would have been really cool if they somehow could have made this black one more of a blued finish. I don't mind the black finish, but just seeing this gun in a blued finish would have just been awesome. So, you know, that would have been my my sort of wish. Maybe an unrealistic one, but still, nonetheless. At the end of the day, which one do I prefer? People always ask me that. People ask me a lot of crazy questions. Do I like the 6-inch or the 8-inch? Well, honestly, I like the finish on the 6-inch. And I don't mind the size. It's a really nice size. But I like the feet per second on the black. I mean, who's not going to appreciate another 50 feet per second? Why not, right? So, I mean, hey, if you can get a few more feet per second out of it and without reducing the amount of shots, then why not? And it's nice that it has the longer barrel, just the whole look of it. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm kind of torn between the two of them. I'm not really sure if I could only own one. Which one would I get? Well, luckily for me, I'm not in that situation. I got them both. So thanks again for watching another Replica Airguns video. Keep checking back for more videos. I try to make at least a few videos each week, if not more. Check us out on the website at replicaAirguns.com. I have some articles there, and sometimes I go into some more details or talk about some other things that weren't covered in the videos. And of course, check out the Replica Airgun store, where we have all kinds of guns there, blank guns, air guns, pistols, even some rifles and accessories. So definitely come down, check us out, keep watching my videos. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.